Welcome to episode 5 of our podcast, My Journey to Awakening and Abundance. What are we going to talk about today? Where did we end off last time, and what were we going to cover today?
Well, so we had originally planned that there were going to be 5 episodes of this. So this is the last one of this series. There's possibly going to be more deep dives or other things in the future, but this is the last of this series. So
yeah, I think it's important that we stick to the plot. I mean, I've talked about the process that I went through in terms of what I wanted to do next with this and what I wanted to do with my work. And we're really conscious that we don't want to make this a sales tool. You know, this podcast is specifically about my journey, my awakening, and how I now live a life of abundance. And so we kind of wanted to stick to that. I mean, you know, I am a coach, so I do have courses, but this podcast isn't really about that. You can go and look at that stuff when you finish listening to the podcast if you want to.
that's a good thing. We could go back to the title of the podcast series, which was Your Journey to Awakening and Abundance. We've covered quite a lot on awakening, I think.
Yeah.
But kind of like, where are you in that journey, or is there anything else you want to say about awakening? And then kind of what do you mean by abundance in this?
Yeah, I think, okay, so let's cover the actual awakening part and the abundance part. So, you know, what does awakening actually mean? So, and what's the crux of awakening really? Through the meditation process and actually becoming hyper self-aware, that is what part the awakening journey is, where, you know, you're consistently meditating, connecting to the field every day. You understand that you're more than you thought you were. You're consistently meditating, overcoming yourself, if you like, and breaking down your ego. That's a major part of awakening. You know, really breaking down your ego, where you lose your fears, you stop worrying about what people think of you. It becomes irrelevant to you. You actually understand why people even have opinions of you or anybody else, and you can treat that with compassion rather than contempt, which quite often we all treat things with contempt. That's all part of awakening as well. So breaking down the ego, connecting to the field, knowing that you just find out that you're more than you thought you were. And the other part is that, you know, there are 2 ways to understand the universe that we live in and how that works, and ourselves as a species, humanity as a race. What we are and how we interact with the universe. Like, how do we create our own lives? We're not the subject of happenstance or lucky biology. Like, we're really not. We're so much more than that. And in the field of science as well, they understand that consciousness plays an enormous part in our story as human beings, and also the story of our universe. Now, there are 2 ways to learn about that. You can learn about that through following a scientific route, or you can learn about that by meditating and connecting to all you are. Everything about everything is known by us. We are all knowing. And the minute you start to meditate, the better you become at it, the more you start to see. Like, I see loads of things during my meditations, absolutely loads of things. And the most fascinating ones, I mean, I've got a couple that I've seen recently. One of them was, I saw how we use black holes, how black holes are instrumental in the creation process. Now, I'm not a scientist, but I can do an out-of-body meditation, and I can see how we create our lives. I can see what it is. I can see it for what it is. Can I then go and explain it scientifically? No. But there are people that can. So I had an interesting one recently, and I reached out to the International Space Federation, Nassim Haramein and his team, and they were kind enough. They're very busy people, obviously, so, you know, you can't go and bombard them with bits of meditation that you see, but they were kind enough to come back to me in this instance, and help me to understand scientifically what that means, what my dream meant. And I'll do a separate video about that. And there was another one I had just last week, which was where I saw how the universe wakes up, and I'll do a separate, I won't even talk about it here, but I'll do a separate video about that too, because I'd love to get some insight on that. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it here because it's just too long. But what I will talk about here is, that is part of my awakening journey. That is part of awakening. So you start off with a massive long list of things that you want in your life. Like, I want to change my life. I want freedom. I want a bigger house. I want a car. Whatever it is. I want the best relationship in the world, the best husband, the best wife, the best whatever. You have an idea in your mind as to what the things are that you believe will help you achieve your best possible life. Now, when it comes to awakening and being self-aware and creating your best life, there are so many aspects to that. Your health and well-being is a really important one. So that's a fundamental area, health and well-being, how we create our health, how we get sick and how we can heal. Like, people don't believe that we're doing that ourselves, and we absolutely are. Another thing to be aware of is that we're creating all of it. There's nobody else involved. We think that we don't have the power or the control over our own lives, and we absolutely do. Because part of the awakening journey is that you know that your vibrational frequency is brought on by your thoughts, feelings, actions and reactions. There's nothing else involved in your life but that. You know that you have a sacred contract. You see it all very, very clearly. You start to see it all really, really clearly. You start to understand that we live in a holographic construct. You start to see it. You can see it and you can feel it. All of that becomes very real. So awakening is about you awakening your innate abilities as well, by overcoming yourself, by overcoming your old beliefs, by breaking them down, by overcoming your own ego and your own nonsense. The moment you start to break that down and overcome it, you start to awaken abilities that have been dormant within you. You start to connect more to the field and awaken more parts of you, more of your own magic. You absolutely do, and that's what awakening means. So my life, I say I live a life of abundance, which is what you've just asked me about. I say I live a life of abundance. And have I acquired more things? No. My story isn't a rags to riches story. We were comfortable already. We're already a comfortable family. We already had pretty much everything we wanted. What we didn't have was the freedom of time, our freedom to do everything that we wanted to, that we were passionate about, that our purpose in the world, what we really wanted to achieve. And my life of abundance is that I live in an abundant state. Abundance is not material wealth. They're two totally different things. You can live a life of abundance and have hardly nothing. And actually, that's one of the things that's happening to me right now. Stuff is actually getting on my nerves. I'm not someone who wants to get more stuff. I'm actually someone who wants to start getting rid of my stuff. And it's really, really interesting that when you reach a point of abundance and you feel like you're living a life of abundance, it's because everything you do, you are living on purpose. Everything you do is your passion. Everything you do and what you strive towards and the people you spend your time with and how you spend your time is completely on point and on purpose for you. And that is what abundance is. You're living your best life because you love every part of it. You love your job, you love your relationship, because you've brought it about. Like, you've worked on yourself. When it comes to relationships, the fundamental thing that people don't understand is that you attract what you are. So if you're needy, you're going to attract a needy person. If you're insecure, you're going to attract an insecure person. If you're greedy, you're going to attract a greedy person. People make a big long list of all the things they want, but they don't realise that they have to be it to get it. So abundance is abundance is a state of being. And I live in abundance because I love everything I do. I love everything about my life. It doesn't mean I don't experience difficulties, and I don't, life is happening around me as well. But how I react to what's going on around me is really, really important. That is part of the awakening and abundance process as well. Choosing how you're going to react to what's going on around you.
I was just going to come in there. You said, needy people attract needy people.
Yeah.
But rather than the kind of external needy person, are you talking about your thoughts, reactions, actions? It's kind of what's internally going on that is what is attracted to you. It's your way of being, your way of thinking.
Yeah, because we're really automatic. Like, we think we're a certain way, but we don't know ourselves at all. That's part of the awakening journey as well. Like, we really don't know ourselves. You can say, I'm a happy person, I'm a positive person. As soon as you start doing any of my courses, you'll realise you're not.
And this is the aspect of self-awareness and being very aware and honest and real about really what you are, what's going on inside.
Yeah, because we are so automatic. When you think that we have between 50 and 70,000 thoughts a day, and 95% of those are automatic. Our behaviours are totally automatic. So only 5% of our thoughts and behaviours are bringing about what we consciously want. We're only conscious for 5% of our time.
I think that is there another aspect of that you can only control what you can control. So if you're trying to change things outside of your control, you're not going to be successful. It's how you relate to those things and your reaction to those things that gives you your reality.
Yeah, the only thing you can control is how you're going to react, how you're going to think. Like, be conscious and self-aware. Self-awareness is absolutely everything. Like, be aware of what your thoughts are, what your feelings are, how you're feeling, why you're feeling that way. If you're feeling rubbish, it's never anybody else's thought. You always think it is, but it's not. It's always you. So it's accountability as well, taking responsibility for where you're at, because you're doing it all. All of those things create your vibrational frequency, and your vibrational frequency determines your point of perception, how you experience the world in front of you. It is a multiverse. It is a multiverse. There are multiple versions of us, of Earth, of everything that we see. And what they mean by that is that we're jumping frequencies all the time. We're jumping points of perception all the time. So, sometimes your life is going really, really swimmingly. Everything runs smoothly. Everything's going perfectly. You're totally in flow. Well, it's because you've jumped into a different point of perception. That's what the multiverse means. You've jumped into a higher vibration. So you've elevated your point of perception, your experience of life. We're constantly jumping timelines several times a day. So every time our vibrational frequency changes, we move into a lower timeline. If our vibrational frequency goes down, we go into a lower timeline where everything feels harder. If we engage in negative thoughts, we'll stay in the lower timelines. If we start to raise our vibration and engage in more positive thoughts and realize that we have the power to do it all, we have the power to live our lives from whichever point of perception we want. That is what leads to true self-empowerment and abundance. There's no two ways about it. That is what leads to you living the life of your dreams.
A good thing about this is, some of it really makes sense and it's very grounded, and in a way it sounds easy, like self-awareness, like be self-aware, but that point that we're only really aware of a tiny portion of what goes on.
Yeah, we're so
there's a lot of learning and introspection to...
Yeah, you have to do it on purpose.
Get a grip of what is really going on to be able to review your reactions and actions and all of that actually then creates your reality and can create a different reality, a better reality, hopefully.
Yeah.
If you can kind of understand what's going on, deal with the things that you can control and act accordingly for those that you can't, or think accordingly for those that you can't.
And not let those upset you. Like, why do we need to control everything? We don't. We can just choose. We can choose to have a brilliant life regardless. What we also, this really gets into the work now, but you know, where attention grows, momentum grows. Where attention goes, momentum grows is a true statement. What we put our attention on will grow.
So maybe this is it's kind of divert back to the title of the of the podcast. So, you know, where are you in your journey of awakening, and what's next? You know,
I've totally stepped into my power. I know that I'm doing it all. I know that I'm creating every aspect of my life. That doesn't mean I'm always in the highest possible vibration. It really doesn't. I mean, we've had some incidents, actually. We had an incident over a year ago that was really unpleasant. And I know how it came about. I know it's because I lowered my own frequency. So I know how that incident came about. And again, like it doesn't really matter. Even when you are an awakened being, you are still dealing with other people that aren't awakened. And you have to navigate them. And you have to navigate them without allowing yourself to go back into an automatic state. It's really important that you remain self-aware, because that is what determines what your experience is going to be. Like we're all living in the same world, but we're all seeing it from a very, very different perspective. And our perspective is what determines our experience, how we experience it. And that's everything. That's all of it. That's what we see, how we feel. It's absolutely all of it. I've been in the same location at the same event, and unpleasant things have happened at that event, and I've just not seen them. I just don't see them. I just don't see them, because I'm at a different vibrational frequency, so I don't see them. And people have said to me so many times, and this has happened to my clients as well, they've commented on it. People will say, "Oh my God, did you see that? That was awful." And I'll say, "See what? I didn't see anything. I was having a lovely time." That's the kind of thing that awakening is. That is what a life of abundance is. You just don't see low frequency stuff. You don't experience it, you don't feel it, you don't see it. It can be going on right in front of you and you do not see it or experience it. It sounds mad, but that's where you start to learn about the universe as well, and how it's holographic in nature, and how our frequency determines how much of that we see.
I guess there's an aspect to this as well, that anybody doing this work is on their journey.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking particularly of people that you know or that are close to you. You still have to kind of be with, react with, live with.
Yeah.
People that aren't on the journey.
Yeah, it's challenging.
And that's a challenge.
Yeah, I do, and I do know people that have done this work or on this type of journey, and they decide to just completely remove themselves from all of their relationships. And honestly, I can tell you that's a mistake for so many reasons. Not everybody wants to go on this type of journey. Not everybody is ready or willing. And it's not your job, or it's not my job to make people wake up. Like, we're at a time in our own evolution, in human evolution right now, with the rise of AI. There's still so many people in denial about what's coming. With the rise of AI, I mean, it's here. The uncertainty around all of our main structures and institutions, they are breaking down. The human race itself is waking up to an extent. All of us are starting to awaken some of our abilities, and it's true that we have to hone them and tune into them to awaken them even further. But even if you don't do anything, I can guarantee your dreams are going to become more vivid right now because of where we are in our own evolution. Your dreams will become more vivid. You will become more psychic. You will become more telepathic. You're going to start to become far more intuitive, regardless of whether you're doing this work or not. And I just urge humanity now to pay attention to all of their innate abilities that are starting to awaken. It's not just, one of those things, I don't really know why that's happened. Yeah, pay attention, because there's a reason why this is happening. There's a reason why the veil is finally being lifted. and we're starting to understand what's going on. We need to step into our power now, because if we don't, we as a race are in danger of becoming extinct, and we'll be doing that to ourselves. So I think it's really important now that I think it would be such a shame for us to become extinct when we haven't reached our full potential. It's like, I think Wayne Dyer says it. Wayne Dyer used to say it all the time, you know, like, you don't want to die without having sung your song. You know, if you've got something inside of you that you want to bring out into the world, you don't want to die without having done that. You want to do that. So I think it's probably the most exciting time to be alive. But I also believe that it's going to be one of the most challenging decades, this next decade of our lives. What I do know is that if you choose to step into your power, you will be able to navigate that decade with far more ease than you would do otherwise. And you will come out of the other side not being extinct, but being very much alive and being very much in tune with the overall universe and using all of our innate abilities that have been dormant for centuries. And that we will be living a golden life. I firmly believe that. And it would be such a shame not to do it. So my purpose and mission now is to help everybody reach that.
Can we talk about aliens now?
We can do that in the next episode. I definitely want to talk about aliens at some point. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the point that we wanted to get to. What's your purpose going forwards?
So my purpose goes. So there's loads of things. You know, I've got platforms. I've got lifeforcefield.com is my website. Lifeforcefield.passion.io is where I do have all my courses. Right now, my aim is to keep putting information out there that will help human beings reach their full potential. So and that's in lots of forms. So of course I have courses. You know, I still although I want to get rid of all my stuff, I actually still live in this world and I still have bills to pay like everybody else, you know, because we are living a construct that requires money, unfortunately. But you know, so I still need to earn money one way or another. So I do courses, I sell courses. I also want to build my YouTube channel, because the more the channel grows, the quicker I'll get monetized, and it means that I'll be able to do a lot more free content. Also, I'm very driven by my clients actually as to what I'm going to do next and what courses I'm going to develop next. So new courses will always be coming out. And in terms of content, I want that to be the same. I want it to grow, my content to grow based on what people want to know. So, you know, if you're watching my YouTube channel or any of my social media channels, do interact with me, because that will tell me what you want to know. And that will determine what our next podcast is going to be. You know, what am I going to talk about next? I want to be able to answer your questions and help you. So do interact with me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. What else have I got? My website and my platform, my course platform. I think I've already mentioned those. So my handle is